Hey guys, it's Jan Shartay and I'm back again with another video. So I know it's been a minute, sorry. A lot has been going on around here. Obviously, you know, I'm trying to run these businesses, but I also bought a new beautiful home, which I'm in right now. I got my nose pierced, I got my hair blonde. Yeah, it's just a lot going on. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to do something special and share a few lessons from one of my courses with you guys. So this video is actually going to be one of those lessons. Is actually from the launching or the launch process module in my program, E-commerce Elementary. So if you're new here, hi, my name is Jan Shartay. I'm the owner of Brazen Boutique as well as the Boutique Academy, where I coach online boutique owners and e-commerce brands to profitability. So one of the programs in the Boutique Academy is called E-commerce Elementary, where I teach people how to launch, relaunch, rebrand, or just completely start over with a fresh and firm foundation for their business. In this program, we focus on making sure that you understand what it means to actually run an online business and making sure that you have all of the necessary components to run or start your online business. So this video is going to share with you a snippet of that program, and this lesson is all about understanding what it takes to have a successful launch. So you might be confused when the lesson first starts, but I guarantee you that by the end of it, it will all make so much more sense. And I'm gonna stop talking now and let y'all watch the video, so let's go. All right, welcome to the next module. So in this module and in this lesson, we're going to talk about the 3 phases of launching as it relates to the launch process. So what we're going to cover includes what does it mean to launch, the 3 phases of launching, and then why launching should never stop. So have you ever thought about what it takes to launch a rocket into space? Now you might be wondering, Jance, what the heck does this have to do with business? But I promise that this is all going to make sense in a second. So at this moment, you may already be in business. You may feel like you've already launched, but really a lot of you have just started your business, but you don't actually have a launch process or launch strategy. A lot of times people equate or they correlate the word starting to the word launching, and they are 2 totally different things. Just for example, I can start my car, but that doesn't mean that my car immediately takes off. I have to actually put the gear into drive or reverse, and then I have to hit the gas to actually make it go. So for some people, they simply started their business, but they did not launch their business. And as we continue in this lesson, hopefully you'll gain even more clarity around what it truly means to launch and why it is so important that you understand how it fits into your business strategy. So stick with this question for a second. Have you ever thought about what it takes to launch a rocket into space? Let's expand on that a little bit more. So to launch a rocket, simply put, it takes science. Now, I am not a huge fan of science. In fact, it is my least favorite topic, or was my least favorite topic in school. However, as a business owner, science plays a huge role in our ability to get the results that we want. So the definition of science is that it is the intellectual or practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. So the definition of science can be applied to business. In business, we have to use intellect and practical activity in order to create rhythm or create activity within our business. And then we also have to observe what happened, and we have to continue to experiment in order for us to create a process that works and continuously gets us the result that we want. So in science, if you know, obviously we went to school at some point. In science class, you did a lot of experimenting and you had to document the steps that you took and then the result that you got. And there were different variables that played a role in whether or not you got one result or another. So you might have changed an ingredient at some point and maybe something exploded, but then when you added this other ingredient, it turned blue. So on and so forth. So business is the same way. You're constantly taking action or adding in different ingredients, and each time you add something in, you may or may not get a different or better result. So let's keep going with our rocket example. So how exactly does a rocket lift off? Well, more than 300 years ago, a scientist named Isaac Newton laid out 3 basic laws that describe the way that things move. One of those laws says that every action, or for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is the most important idea behind how rockets work, and this is also the most important idea behind how businesses and launches work as well. So in business, we start, as we talked about, we start the business, but did it actually take off? Some of you are in this program in this very moment because you started the business, but it never took off. And that is because you didn't understand that there needed to be a process, that there needed to be specific actions that you were taking, not just from day one, but on over and over again in your business, so that you can continue to either maintain momentum or create momentum, which ultimately would create revenue for you. So let's keep going. So once you launch a rocket, does it keep going? So on the opposite end of this, some of you launched the business or you started the business and it took off and it was like, wow, best week ever. But literally that first week or first month of your business was the best that you ever had, and you have not had that momentum since. So sometimes we launch something or we release something and we have this like what seems to be really great momentum, but then ultimately it dies down at some point. So let's talk about this a little bit more. To launch, the rocket needs enough propellant so that the thrust pushing the rocket up is greater than the force of gravity pulling it back down, or pulling the rocket back down. So in business, for example, we launched the business, we did something that propelled it forward in the beginning of the business, or even launching a new collection or product. We did something that propelled it forward, but after a few hours or a few days or maybe a week or two, it starts to die down. So I'm sure you've heard the saying that what goes up must come down. Same happens in business. You go up and then you go down. And if you don't have anything else in place to make you go back up again, you're going to stay down, period. So it is not as simple as just putting the rocket up in the air and it just staying or continuing at the pace that it's going. It's not that simple. So Earth's gravity is still pulling down on the rocket, because remember, what goes up must come down unless you have something to keep it up. So when a rocket burns propellants and pushes out exhaust, that creates an upward force called a thrust. So we have to always constantly be thrusting our business forward to get the results that we want. Our business is not going to just simply keep going just because we pushed a button and started it. We have to have the proper ingredients or the proper propellants to make it keep going in the direction that we want it to go. So always remember that what goes up must come down. And if you want it to go back up again, you're going to need something to propel it. So even rockets have failed launches. Even though they may have done it 1,000,000 times and they're like, oh my God, we did it 17 times. It worked like a charm. Nothing blew up. It worked out fantastically. That next time, that rocket might blow up, and it is not a great thing at all. It may not take off. They may push the button and it stays still. The same thing can happen in business. You may put all this time, money, and energy into choosing the products, photographing them, uploading the products, creating the content, all the good things. And then when launch day comes, it's crickets. It happens. So even with this high-tech entity, this rocket that has all of these different moving parts and these experts who are like the smartest people on earth, putting together this process for the rocket to potentially take off and have a successful launch, at the end of the day, there is a possibility that it may not take off, that it may not launch. And that doesn't mean that they're never going to launch another rocket again. But what that does mean is that they're going to go back and analyze the process, analyze the moving parts, and figure out what the heck can we change or what went wrong, so that when we try our launch again, it works out better than it did the previous time. So I found this quote that kind of summarizes this situation. So it says, rockets are extremely complex and intricate pieces of machinery, delicate and finicky, that something as seemingly insignificant as a chunk of foam falling off can cause the worst disaster in space flight history. So eventually something slips through the cracks every now and then, and we get an unscheduled fireworks show. Basically, it blows up. So what this quote is saying is that, again, it doesn't always work out the way that they plan. Even with rockets being as complex and having so many intricate pieces that ultimately make that rocket a rocket, there is still the likelihood that one small minor detail could cause a huge disappointment in that launch happening, or could potentially blow it all up. So one of the things that I really want you to think about in business is that one is not always going to go the way that you plan. However, it is going to be your ability to analyze what did or did not happen and analyze all the moving parts of that is going to ultimately help you to have a successful launch the next time around. So what does it mean to launch in business? So a launch is essentially a business's planned and coordinated effort to debut a new product to the market and make that product generally available for purchase. And product could be replaced with the word collection or the business itself. However, after you launch the business and as you continue to run the business, you are going to be continuously launching new products and collections. So, keywords here: planned and coordinated, period. It needs to be planned and coordinated. That means that you can't just select some new products or get some new products from your supplier and assume that you can just create or share one piece of content and that should propel your business or this launch forward. There needs to be intentionality behind the plans that you create that ultimately are going to back your ability to have a successful launch. So an important thing that I want you to always remember as it relates to launching is that a launch is more than just posting "we're open" on social media. It is also more than just sharing your newest products and saying, it's available or that it's coming tomorrow. It's a dedicated effort to get the product workable ahead of a deadline. And by workable, I mean that you've created the collection, you've created the content, you're ready. That's all that means, workable, ahead of the deadline. And then to appropriately market the product across channels. Channels, meaning more than one. You're not just on Instagram praying for the best. You have the understanding that there are other platforms that you could be talking about your product launch on. There are other platforms that you could be interacting with people on and telling them about the launch of your products or your collection or your business. So in big business, it's an extensive project that requires collaboration through various teams and departments within a business. However, in small business, you are all the teams and all the departments. So with that in mind, it will be hard. I don't ever want you to assume that launching is supposed to be easy. And big issue in business is that so many people think that it is supposed to be easy because they equate it to getting the products and releasing the products. But as we just learned, launching contains planned and coordinated efforts that are going to be guided towards your ability to get the result that you want. So it will be hard because you are playing the role of a multitude of people. You are the buyer. You chose the products. You're the accountant potentially. So you're choosing the pricing. You're looking at the analytics. You're the content creator. You might be the model. You might be the photographer. You're the social media manager. You're the customer service representative. You literally have to have a pulse on all of these different every single one of those areas I just mentioned. You as the business owner and as the head of all these departments and teams, or the sole member of all these departments and teams, you have to have a strong hold on every single one of them. And all of those individual areas need to come together so that you can have a successful launch. So imagine if you only put on your buyer hat and you say, "Oh, I chose the products," or you put on the buyer hat and the photographer model hat. You're like, "I bought the product and I photographed it." But what about the content strategy? What about the social media management? What about the copywriting? What about the website designing? What about the email marketing? There are so many other areas that need to be considered when you're creating or strategizing what your launch process or strategy will look like. All right, so in thinking about that, there are 3 phases of launching. So launching is not just a 1, 2, 3 and done. There are 3 phases that need to be considered, and we're going to talk briefly about each one of them. However, there is going to be another lesson about each one of these phases individually. So the first phase is the pre-launch. So in this phase, you are preparing for success. This includes warming up your audience or your customers and creating the launch or marketing materials. So this entire season or point of business is all about preparation. You are making sure that you have all the things that you need or all the necessary components that will allow you to potentially have a successful and hopefully profitable launch. So then we move on to phase 2, which is the actual launch in itself. So this is the point where you're opening the doors, where you're releasing the products or the collection. But also what's really important during your launch phase is that you're keeping the energy high as you promote the product or collection or the business as a whole. You're also answering questions from your audience and providing customer service. That is very important. And then the last phase is the post-launch. So you don't just launch it and it happens and you make the money, or you don't make the money and you just say, okay, it's cool. Better luck next time. I see a lot of people say, this one didn't go well, but that's okay. We'll do better next time. But really what you should be doing is reviewing the results or lack thereof, making any necessary changes, and planning for the future. So you can't just say, oh, we'll do better next time, but not actually analyze or review what happened this time. If we think about our example of the rocket ship, if they were to say, you know what, that rocket exploded last week, and yes, we lost some lives. The people who were inside that rocket didn't make it. However, we're just going to do it the exact same way next week and hope for the best. That would be crazy. That would be insane. Same for business. It would be crazy, absolutely insane for you to say, that's okay, better luck next time. We'll do the exact same thing next week and hope for the best. So again, you want to be reviewing what happened in detail, making any necessary changes, because changes will need to be made, even if it went amazing, even if it went the way that you wanted it to. There still will probably be things that could be altered or changed in some way. And then you want to plan for the future. So in business, you should never stop learning, because you will never stop launching. It is what you learn that will allow you to have more successful launches. So as I mentioned, if you never take a step back and learn or figure out what happened the previous time, ultimately you can't expect for your future launches to be any better than the previous ones. Launches are typically when businesses have the most momentum. So it's not just about learning to run your business. Most importantly, we have to learn how to have successful launches. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we make the most money during launching. When we launch that new product, that new collection, when we talk about the business, maybe when you launched the business, that was when you had the most success and made the most sales. It was because you had momentum. So part of our job as business owners is figuring out how we can either maintain that momentum or continuously put that momentum back into our businesses. So it will go up and it will go down, but ultimately you have to have enough control and knowledge available to you to be able to create momentum when you need it or desire it. All right, so your next steps are going to be to open your workbook and reflect on your understanding of the launch strategy. All right, so how did it go? What do you think? Are you a little bit more clear about what it takes to launch? Are you a little bit more clear about the fact that launching doesn't stop? That means that when you launch that new collection or that new product or whatever, there needs to be a process. And it also means that if that next launch doesn't go well, it doesn't mean that you just do the same thing the next time and hope for the best. It means that you have to go back to the drawing board, analyze all of the steps that you took, and figure out what went wrong. You can learn from a disastrous launch. If it didn't go well, if you've already launched the business, if you just launched a collection, whatever has happened already, please know that you can learn from it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As I mentioned, that this is a lesson from my program, E-Commerce Elementary. If you're interested in learning more about that program, you can learn more in the description bar. If you have any questions about this video or the program, just drop them in the comments and I will definitely answer. Other than that, I will be back again with another lesson. I'm basically going to share some of my favorite lessons from my program. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.